joining me. We're doing an after the workout kind of interview here. And your story is pretty revolutionary. So we just want to kind of go back and kind of hear from the beginning, your life story, really, and how you have decided to take care of yourself and the changes you're making for you and your family. But let's start at the beginning. Kind of tell us a little bit about how you grew up and kind of the mentality of what brought you to the point you're at now.
So when I was young, I was pretty active. Softball, I swam, I actually was a gymnast for a very short amount of time. And then after all that tapered off, I was sedentary for a while. And in my family, you were heavier. So at probably about middle school, I got a little bit heavier and had pretty bad self-esteem at that point, and I wasn't really active doing anything. I tried out for sports and didn't make it. Either I wasn't fit enough or I just didn't fit in. That kind of happened where I grew up. So it wasn't until high school that I actually got onto a sport. Volleyball was my thing. I played softball also. And then I started being active, and I was fit, and I was running around constantly doing something and going outside until it was dark. And that's what you did back then. We were called home when it was dark. So I was outside constantly, hanging out with my friends, being active, playing sports. When I was going into college, I did well here. Went to a local college. When I went away to college is when it really hit me. I started being very sedentary. I actually drove taxi, so I was sitting the whole time while I was driving, basically running through drive-thrus, doing all that good, fun, healthy food. But when you're in college, you don't have a lot of money, so whatever my meals were very cheap, and being cheap, you know what happens then. So after growing up in my household that was very, I don't know how you want to put it, but not negative, but to the point where, okay, you're gaining weight. Okay, you're gaining weight. If you do this, you're going to gain weight.
Right.
If you do this, you're going to gain weight. Because my mom was heavy for her whole life, she didn't want me to fall into her footsteps. I did, and looking back, I, in a sense, wish I had listened, but I didn't. And I was falling in the same shoes that my mother wore for a very long time. I got married heavier, and throughout my whole adulthood, I was heavy. From 21 on about.
Okay.
I didn't care what I ate. I didn't care if I was active. Although I did play volleyball through, college, then stopped. And I would play in the bar leagues or rec ball, and then that stopped. And I just didn't do anything. We tried for 10 years to have a child. We went through fertility treatments. That didn't help. Went through a lot of hardships first, and then I finally got pregnant in 03. Had her in 04, and I dropped a little weight after I had her, and then just picked it up from there. So it's been a heavy adulthood from that instance of after having her, probably about a year afterwards when I gained complete weight.
So during that time in your adulthood, when you were living this heavier lifestyle, were you constantly thinking, I need to lose weight, I need to lose weight, I need to lose weight? Or were you thinking, I'm just going to embrace it and this is who I am?
No, I didn't want to embrace it. I wasn't ready to embrace it at that point. There is a point, which I will tell you about, that I did embrace it.
Okay.
But at this point, I went through very many programs.
All right.
I did Slow Fast. I've gone Fat. I've done some other drugs that affect your appetite, and I didn't eat. And I lost 50 pounds at a time, or I lost 70 pounds at a time. Fast forward the years later, I gained 100 pounds back. I gained 140 back. So this was a very vicious cycle for me. Every time I would diet, I would gain twice back. Because I thought I was invincible. I'm not going to gain it back. I can do whatever I want because I lost the weight so quickly. But I think that's what happened. I lost the weight so fast and so unhealthy that it came back too cold. And I should have taken it as a warning, and I didn't. I just, at one point, gave up and said, this is my end.
So So then you mentioned that later on you kind of had a mentality shift. So at what point was this? Maybe how many years ago was this?
This was about 2 years ago.
Okay.
I was extremely heavy, almost to my highest. And I decided that I was happy. I was happy because I didn't look in the mirror anymore. I didn't see how unhappy I truly was. I didn't care how I looked. I didn't care what people thought of me, inside and out. I just was one of those happy people. I was just happy. I didn't care. But that happiness took a toll on me after I hit my highest weights. And that's when a lot of things started happening.
Okay. So I know you've mentioned a little bit about your mom and about her struggles. You had some medical things, not to you, but in your family that kind of happened to maybe give you a little wake up. Tell us a little bit about that.
My mom had a stent put in after she was having some trouble breathing. Went in, had an angiogram, and they had to put one in. Okay. Or it was two. One or two at that point.
Okay.
We went on vacation, I think about 9 months later, around that time, and she was having trouble breathing. It was very hot in Florida, and she thought it was just the heat.
Right.
She had to have a scooter, and we didn't think anything of it. She came home, had another angiogram, and she had to have a third stent. About a year and a half, almost 2 years later, about that time-ish, that was February after that, my husband had open heart surgery.
Wow.
At 39. And his dad had a heart attack at 37. So that was a wake-up call for him. He didn't have his heart attack first, which we're very thankful. But this changed my world. I started cooking better. I started eating better. But I still wasn't to the point where I was working out. I wasn't wanting to do that. It took up too much time. I found every excuse in the book to not work out. I'm eating better. I'm fine. But it wasn't until he went through his rehab that woke me up and said, you need to do something. You're going to walk in these shoes of your mom. You're going to end up being like your husband in a matter of time. Because my blood work was not the best, and it just, something finally clicked.
Right. So, how did you start working out? What's like kind of your intro? Because you used to be active, softball, gymnastics, volleyball. So what was kind of your intro back into being active? What was that?
Walking. I started walking to work.
Beautiful.
I worked at the school, the closer school to us, I would walk to work.
Okay.
I'd walk around the neighborhood. That's what I did.
Awesome.
So the eating well and the walking, I lost about 10 pounds.
10 pounds, that's great.
Which is a boost.
Right.
I felt good.
Yeah.
I want to keep going.
Okay. So that brings you then to a friend introduced you to a Groupon.
Yep.
Okay. To Synergy, and said, "Hey, come on over and do this kettlebell thing with me." Tell us a little bit about that.
So I bought my Groupon and I waited and I'm like, this isn't what I'm gonna do. So then I finally had it and said, I've been walking. I need to introduce something into my life. I'm gonna go do my Groupon. Went and took the first class. Didn't almost make it out. In my mind, I did. I was a lot stronger than I thought I was. I was exhausted. I was dead tired, but I didn't. I walked out of this building without having to be taken out in an ambulance. That was a bonus for me.
Yeah.
Especially for as unhealthy as it was.
Right.
Then I came back the next day, like they say, make sure you come back, and I did. And I haven't went back since.
Great. Did your friend come?
No. No.
All right, so you really kind of had this revolutionary decision to start working out a year ago. It's been 1 year.
Yes.
End of May last year, 2013. How much are you down right now?
81 pounds.
That's amazing. That's
Very
fantastic. And now you had started making some dietary changes in the beginning before you started doing the working out part. How has that kind of shifted and evolved, now looking at it a year plus later?
When I first started, it was salt-free, low sugar, but it wasn't the healthiest. It was, your reduced fat, or it was sugar-free, which has a lot of chemicals in it, not thinking about it then. But it wasn't until I started here that I realized there's a lot of stuff in what I'm paying that is inhibiting weight loss. So I decided to eat a little bit cleaner and introduce smoothies into my life every day, which has helped extremely. And from there I do a lot less meat than I used to. Maybe once a week. We do red meat once a month, if that. And I don't partake in a lot of big, meaty dishes if I make them for my family at family gatherings. I kind of work with that. I go fruits and vegetables as opposed to all the heavy meats.
Good.
I feel them.
And it's been small changes. It hasn't been like an overnight,
no.
All right, now we're 100% vegan.
No.
It's small changes and you're still evolving.
Exactly.
Okay.
I still have a ways to go to where I would like to be.
Right.
But where I am now, I'm very happy.
That's fantastic. I know you mentioned earlier that your blood work numbers were not the greatest. Have you had any recent blood work?
I have not.
Okay.
On the side of my mom is my doctor's nurse.
Oh, okay.
Which happens to be kind of funny. She said, we really need to get your blood work.
Okay.
I did do some a little bit after I started working them, and the numbers were a lot better than what they had been.
Wow.
I had a cholesterol over 250. All my numbers were very, very high. So that I will have to let you know. I need to do those soon.
They have a follow-up.
Absolutely. See where I'm at, because I'm excited, because I feel good. I'm hoping my numbers.
Energy levels improved?
Energy levels are great. I sleep better.
Great.
I have more stamina throughout the day. I can run after my 10-year-old at home. I actually can walk up and down the stairs without, having to stop. I was to that point where I could walk up and down stairs. It's not a good feeling.
No,
but it takes a lot to get to where I am.
Right. So now you've mentioned this diet and that pill and this program that you've done, and you've lost these massive amounts of weight, and then it's gained it back. So the big question is, what's different now?
I don't want to walk the shoes of my mom or my husband. I don't want to be that heavy-set, uncomfortable, miserable mom and show my daughter that there's life. There's life in me, and I am there for her. Teach her that it's good to eat healthy and to be active and you're an adult life, and hopefully that she follows that instead of
Well, thank you so much, Jenni, for being so open and honest, not only with me but with our audience as well. So we look forward to hearing some follow-up numbers from you, and you have been doing some really impressive stuff as far as lifting weights and doing some running. I know that you're working on that, so just keep going strong, and we're all here supporting you and cheering you on, as well as we're here to cheer all of you on too. So thank you so much, Jenni.